Okay, so you think you're ready for a summative assessment. Here it is. The task is to create a model of your IB scores for ITGS. You'll need to download this spreadsheet and have a read through of these kind of things, because these are some specific design specifications of your model. Now, I'm going to start off by talking you through this, but what we need to really make sure we understand is this stuff here on this data, because this is the raw data of your model, and in some way it's the rules of your model as well, because it shows you, for example, if we look at higher level, it shows you here in the basic data that the higher level score is made up of 4 marks, and those are the points for paper 1, 2 and 3 and for the project, and that's the weighting that you have there. So those will feed into ending up with a percentage score. You know, you might finish after all of this stuff with 48%, and that then goes into this final overall score, and if you had a 48% overall, that would be a 5. Now, I've also put here the breakdown here of exactly how those criteria in the project, criteria is A to G, which you'll learn all about, whether those marks are allocated, so that you might want to include that in your model. I've also put in here the individual component scores, because you actually get a grade 1 to 7 for the project for paper 1, 2 and 3, and those are the boundaries that you get for those. So all this data is from the May 2013 exams. They do change a little bit every year, so do think about that. So that's the data that you need to build into your model. Here's the rubric, so make sure I have put the sort of levels of sort of detail in your model that does span through the rubric. Okay, so make sure you're aware of that stuff. Okay, I think I'm going to show you an example here. Here's an example of a grade predictor that I've made. So here's the features of it. I can put into the orange cells, you see I've put some instructions there, I can put into the orange cells what I scored. So let's say I did reasonably well on paper 1, paper 2, I did superbly, paper 3, I didn't do so great, okay, and I didn't bother doing my project. That's what I end up with. Now I'm going to do my project. I'm going to do a reasonable effort on my project. There we go. Criteria D, all the plans. You'll learn all about that. Criteria E, the creation of your project. There we go. Criteria F, the evaluation. Excellent. Criteria G, the overall. So there we go, and I can see my overall score in ITGS is a 6. Now the great thing about a model like this is that you can predict. You can say, well, hang on, I don't want a 6, I want a 7, so let me see if I need to score better at this. Gonna have to do better than a 15. What about a 17 there? Ooh. What about a 19? Oof, I'm going to have to do better at paper 1. Maybe I'm going to do 75. And there we go. There's my 7. Okay. So it lets you do those modelings. So do have a look at this model here in terms of, you know, the look and feel of it. It's very simple to use. It's very simply laid out. I've used those techniques of formatting, you know, things like changing the background colors and changing the font sizes and styles, bold and such like. I've merged text together. I've colored this background here grey just to sort of fade it out into the background, and I've even on this one here I've formatted it to be aligned to -90, so it's sort of nicely on the side like this. I've used 2 different sheets, one for standard level, one for higher level. Okay, so there's a few little tricks of how to sort of lay out your model, but it's a bit of trial and error now. What you should start by doing is to make sure that you get the mechanics working. In other words, you can actually come up with some formulas that will take these sort of rules and calculate an IB grade. Okay, keep these things in mind. Okay, make sure you have a good read of this instructions, and obviously have a good read of the rubric to make sure that you've got your target clearly in mind so that you can get the highest score possible. Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing some of these models being created, so good luck.